Talking about individuals, right? So you point correctly, it's all depends on people. What would you say to those who still don't believe in climate change?
Well, I
They are
it's a
so
really good
many.
question. Yeah, I think um, it's really hard for people to not believe in climate change, but I think um, it's really unclear how to do things about it. And that's one of the catalysts to the negative emission program, because actually it's about job creation, it's about entrepreneurship, it's non-partisan.
Hi there, and welcome to Swiss Impact with Banerjees.
Come along on this eye-opening journey as we dive into sustainability and impact investing.
Here you'll meet inspiring individuals who are crafting a brighter future for all generations to come.
The potential for impact investment is boundless, and you can be absolutely sure we are part of this positive change.
Are you ready to dive in and make a difference? Let's take action for the benefit of both mankind and nature. Welcome, dear audience, to the 10th episode of the 8th season.
And today, we are coming to you from the beautiful hills of Germany.
I can't wait to dive into today's discussion and hear from our fascinating guest with his groundbreaking ideas.
Me too. It's going to be fun and a great conversation.
So before we do that, Ben, what's today's story?
So this week, I heard something very intriguing. Apparently, interest in impact investment in Switzerland has gone down this year. A friend mentioned it's because of the issues of Articles 8 and 9.
Okay, for those who are not in the loop, Articles 8 and 9 are part of the European Sustainable Finance Regulations. Article 8, products promote social and environmental characteristics, while Article 9, products have a sustainable objective. Everything else is classified as other.
Exactly. And with the current geopolitical shifts, regulators are getting tougher, making greenwashing much harder.
Yes, we need a major economic rethink. We've blindly followed outdated economic models, ignoring the problems they've caused.
And absolutely, the scale of destruction is so massive that many, especially the youth, have become overwhelmed and they feel powerless.
To make real change, we need to break free, like in the song, from rigid economics thinking.
But there is hope.
Always.
After the first financial crisis, capitalism began to reflect on its own flaws, speeding up our understanding of ecological issues. The positive changes in regulations and human consciousness we see today stem from that period.
That's refreshing perspective, actually. I hope humanity continues this transformation quickly and effectively.
And speaking of transformation, let's introduce our guest, Paul Begley, who is at the forefront of driving this change.
Paul, welcome to the studio. Welcome to Swiss Impact.
Nice to be here. What an introduction.
Thank you. Where are you right now?
I'm on the outskirts of Cambridge, and for 800, 1,000 years, people have been thinking deeply about the issues that you're talking about around here. And I think it's a really nice place to be. But of course, it's England and it's raining.
Well, a lot of rain is falling on our planet today, so you're not alone in this. Paul, let me briefly introduce you to our audience who don't know you yet. So you are a sustainability expert with over 2 decades of experience. At the University of Cambridge, as you mentioned, you led educational programs for very diverse audiences, including high net worth individuals, corporate leaders, and others. You spearheaded collaborations, notably with Chanel, to support disadvantaged students. As a founder of Better Sustainability, you champion projects like the negative emissions program and the climate diplomacy program, embedding sustainable practices globally. Your work spans continents, driving change from boardrooms to policy circles, inspiring a sustainable future for all. So that's impressive, and we are really looking to dive deeper today in those topics.
So, Paul, over your 20-year career, what was the turning point that led you to focus on sustainability and impact?
Well, I think I've always been curious about the world, and I realized quite a long time ago that actually the most important thing is to look at the changing context, whether that's population or climate change or other issues, as a massive innovation agenda. And I think that realization really brought me into the sustainability space. And I think over the last 20 years or so, talking to people, it's clear that people enter sustainability for very different reasons. But I'm a big fan of looking at this nexus between the external changing context and organizational performance.
Amazing. So you've been called also as a strategic thinker, which we're now already witnessing. How do you turn big ideas into practical actions in your work?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I really like to work in communities, and it's great to be with the two of you today because we all have different perspectives, and actually we will find answers to the big changes in society by sharing our views and working together in a honest and open way to really innovate and create responses which work for you and for me and the wider society. And I think we're very good at understanding one part of the change management that we need, how to deploy capital, how to think about supply chains. But typically, we're pretty hopeless at framing the right question. So if you pose different questions, then actually we can really work through using a lot of the tools and techniques that we have in our kit in order to inform strategic responses, devise new products and services. And that's what I like to do.
Okay. And what sparked the creation of your consultancy, Better Sustainability?
Yeah, so kind of through that lens of innovation, it's really clear that we're not doing enough. We're not going quickly enough on the sustainability activities. You could say that we've underestimated the speed with which the natural world is changing and been far too confident in our capability as a human species to change in accordance with that. And so Better Sustainability is about trying to create a space where we can actually move faster together. And so we know that report writing isn't really enough, but actually we need to debate and discuss and work out what it means for us as individuals. And so we're trying to create a space for genuine engagement, helping people who sit in family offices or investment communities or boardrooms really genuinely engage with the big issues that they need to be doing. And we're drawing on the best insights from academia, from innovation, from finance in order to create those communities so that we can move forward faster together. It's that multidisciplinary response which is super important.
Yeah, I think communities is everything. You know, we cannot build things in silos. So, Paul, at Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership, you craft different programs for different groups. What was the toughest one to create and why?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And actually, the toughest thing is always getting time in people's diaries. It's giving people that space to actually engage and think differently, to share their own cognitive biases and to find ways to engage with the changing context. And partly it's a triumph of the economic system that we're largely not thinking about people up and down the supply chain or the customers or what happens to a product at the end of life. But actually, we need to have people that can think in that system and understand the unintended consequences of the business. And always the most challenging thing at CISL was to find people who were curious enough to come and engage and to be educated about actually how we can capture better thinking about what's going on in our organizations, but then build responses to mitigate the unintended consequences and create those positive spillovers. So it's always been about listening and testing and creating new ideas together. And I think that's always the most difficult bit.
And at your consulting, the better sustainability, what achievement are you the most proud of till now?
Yes. So it's evolving quite quickly. And we're super pleased that we have the negative emissions program. And this is a space and opportunity for senior strategic thinkers to come and understand how we can pull greenhouse gas from the atmosphere in ways which create high value AI resilient jobs, stimulate entrepreneurship, and actually deliver the best parts of economic development, whilst at the same time delivering a big necessary climate impact. It feels like the right program at the right time with the right people.
I like this term, AI resilient job, because nowadays so many are worried about it. So what is your vision for the next 5 years?
So I think we would like to take the consultancy to be known as a place where people can go to have the big conversations. And I think we've kind of made inroads into the negative emission economy, but actually we need to start having more meaningful conversations which are around constructing cities in low carbon ways and delivering high quality lifestyles for individuals. In the next 5 years, we want to really focus on the big issues that are facing society. And that's about pulling greenhouse gas from the atmosphere. It's about equipping people with the strategic understanding to put climate change into trade negotiations. It's about constructing cities with low carbon technologies. It's about creating healthier, happier lives. And we have 2 strategic programs in and around the space at the moment. And I'm sure that the goal in the next 5 years to make sure that they become the go-to place where people come to establish the strategic thinking and the system levels understanding of what we're doing.
That's great. And Paul, now let's ask you about the Chanel collaboration, because you worked with them on sustainability. So what was your biggest highlight and lesson from that collaboration?
Yeah, so when I was at the University of Cambridge, I secured a partnership with the fashion house Chanel. And what was really important is that genuine collaboration is possible. And if you get it right, then actually it can unlock opportunities for genuine learning and transfer of knowledge and innovation. And I think the key thing that I took from that is that collaboration happens at the speed of trust. Often we think that collaboration is really easy, but it's a big investment, and you need to make sure that we're really listening, learning, engaging, testing our assumptions of one another all the time.
And how about your collaboration with Kim Khaled for responsible competitiveness in Saudi Arabia? What was the most surprising result or something that you want to share with the world?
Yeah, so before going to the University of Cambridge in 2008, 2011, I ran an initiative in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to help the private sector grapple with this changing context, whether that was supply chain issues or climate change. We really had an opportunity to engage with the corporates across the kingdom. And it was deeply fascinating, a real luxury to have that opportunity. And it was intriguing how leaders within the kingdom really understood this agenda and could quickly move. And it spoke a lot about cultures, and it just reminded me that actually we are much more similar than we are different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very true.
Did you spark any meaningful conversations there about climate change, gender equality, or any other SDGs? Sustainable Development Goals?
Yeah, exactly. So we were there a little bit before the SDGs came out, and we were there, and I think a lot of the leaders that we worked with have been quite progressive in the development of the kingdom and some of the big projects which have been supportive of the broader societal changes in Saudi Arabia. And that could be about bringing opportunities for women into the workforce. That could be a whole host of things. And I'm really intrigued about how the kingdom is full of opportunity. And actually, sitting in Cambridge on a damp day, it's really easy to forget the world. But we can move forward if we set an understanding, and if we establish what we want to do, then actually people across the world can really move forward fast.
Exactly. And now coming to your program, the negative emissions program, what is this negative emissions program about, and why is it crucial in fighting climate change?
Yeah, so all desirable climate scenarios have below the line an assumption and expectation that we have the industrial scale capability to pull greenhouse gas from the atmosphere. And we need to have that to give ourselves any fighting chance of a stable climate going forward. And the projections are roughly that we need to be removing 10 gigatons of greenhouse gas each year by 2050. And today we're not in that situation. We don't have anywhere near the scale to do that. And many of the ideas still sit on lab benches. So we're a long way from having that capability. And I always find it very strange, but 10 gigatons would make greenhouse gas removals the largest industry on planet Earth by volume. So essentially the acid question is, how can we create the largest industrial sector in 26 years? And I think at the moment we only have the capability to remove something like 0.1% of what we need to be doing.
Wow.
2050 each year.
And Paul, if you look at CSR, so corporate social responsibility, ESG, environmental social governance practice, or impact investment, so do you see negative emissions as an evolution or something completely new? How would you position it?
So I think the three things that you're talking about there are largely about today's industries having a greater impact on society. But actually, the negative emission economy can really drive industrial policy. And we need it to be driving industrial policy as opposed to just changing or bleeding the way that today's large industries are working. We need to actually establish entrepreneurs and scale ventures which can pull these greenhouse gases from the atmosphere and lock them in for a long period. And so I think it's fundamentally different. And actually, in the past few months, we've seen a whole host of governments and national bodies and venturing activities into the negative emission economy. And I think this means that it is fundamentally different because it's potentially a significant industrial sector. And as I said, it's about creating those AI resilient jobs and capturing entrepreneurship and bringing forward the positive sides of the economy whilst also delivering our climate goals.
Exactly.
And I think that's really important.
And are we unprepared for negative emissions, or do we have untapped capabilities?
We need to do a lot more. We need a concerted effort into thinking about this.
I agree on that. We all need to do much more. And Paul, what resources or support do you need actually to advance this program of negative emissions?
So there's a few things that we need. We have an annual program, and we need people who can be curious to engage and learn with us. We need strategic partners that can support the impact of our work. And of course, as with all these things, some strategic philanthropy is helpful.
Yeah, that's true.
And if I can play, usually it's Ben who is doing devil's advocate, but today it will be me. So what could happen if we don't pursue initiatives like yours for negative emissions?
So, well, I think it's quite likely that we are facing a runaway climate change scenario anyway.
Yep.
But I think actually if we don't invest and think about negative emissions, then the likelihood of that happening, which will be a fundamental disruption to all economic activity and social fabric, I think it just increases the likelihood of that happening. But I think the negative emission economy lens is very helpful because it can deliver some of those positive social benefits.
Yeah. And why do you think you are so uniquely positioned to lead the charge on this negative emissions?
So I'm deeply privileged. So for the last 11 years, I was working for the University of Cambridge and creating communities of impact-oriented individuals who could allocate resources to deliver positive social change. And actually, this is just a continuation of that. And so I'm lucky to draw in some academic insights from the university, some people who sit in investment houses or large companies, as well as some of the entrepreneurs in order to move forward quite quickly in this space.
And which organizations are already part of negative emissions program? And what does it practically mean to be in this program? You know, what responsibilities or contributions an organization needs to do?
So it's a 3.5-day course, and it will run each year in June in the UK in Cambridge. And we have expert insights from a whole host of people, including the US Department of Energy, the gentleman who set up the carbon removals activity at Microsoft, academics from the University of Cambridge, insights from the UN system. And we've got brands such as Chanel and Paramount Pictures, Network Rail in the UK, the train operator, Uber. All these organizations are beginning to engage, and it's a safe space. So we're looking for curious people who have mandate or permission or the capability to get things done within their own context.
Perfect. And your climate diplomacy program, it mentions that it helps civil servants integrate climate change into policymaking. So what has been the most rewarding feedback you have received till now?
Yeah, no, thanks, Ben. So this is a second activity that we're launching, which is targeted for civil servants. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to put climate change into the heart of trade and investment conversations. And when we've had the conversations with participants and people in the design phase, we've had a lot of really important bits of feedback to say, this is exactly what's missing, because we have a situation at the moment whereby you can go to a trade and investment summit and people talk about investment flows, but it doesn't mention or support our climate goals. And we need to weave those issues together. And we need to weave our international targets with domestic practice so that people have the dexterity of thought to actually deliver, because we all need to be moving much more quickly in this space, and it will require courageous, thoughtful individuals.
And
you're very diplomatic, Paul, you know.
Too diplomatic.
So, Paul, tell us, you're working on sustainability across various sectors. So which sector has the most potential to lead I don't like the word the fight, but to take the lead against climate change, and why? So which sector would you say?
So I think it's not necessarily sectors, but I think it's about individuals within companies and within those sectors. And I think it's those people who can really drive change and support cross-sectoral collaborations to do the things that are required rather than what the market today will pay for. And so that's a mindset piece. And actually, we've seen in a whole host of sectors like fashion or automotives, we've seen that people are moving together to deliver new products which improve our sustainability. And we just need more of those sorts of activities, particularly from emerging economies and non-traditional players, in order to really move forward faster.
Talking about individuals, right? So you point correctly, it all depends on people. What would you say to those who still don't believe in climate change?
Well,
They are
it's a
so
really
many.
good question. Yeah, I think it's really hard for people to not believe in climate change, but I think it's really unclear how to do things about it. And that's one of the catalysts to the negative emission program, because actually it's about job creation, it's about entrepreneurship, it's non-partisan. And that's really important. And I think a lot of the sustainability conversation has focused on things which are very divisive, or they suggest that the future will be less good than it is now. And that's really difficult. So I think finding the right phraseology and terminology to move forward is really important. So rather than talk to senior leaders about climate disruption in the supply chain, if we can talk to them about productivity and resilience, then actually they can really latch on to the need to decarbonize and change behaviors quite quickly.
Exactly. And your work, you mentioned, spans from Europe to Middle East. So what differences do you see in how these regions approach sustainability?
Yeah, so I think it's quite dynamic. I think, for instance, the UN climate conference in the United Arab Emirates really brought climate change into the agenda of all sectoral leaders in that space. And I think it's quite regional in some ways, but actually I think we see that there are local priorities, but actually we see that a lot more people, regardless of sector, are really curious about how the context is changing, really inspired to understand, learn, test ideas, share experiences, with the hope that we can move forward. And so I think there are regional differences, and the geography of sustainability will really drive what happens next, especially against the broader geopolitical backdrop.
Exactly.
Paul, what type of support is better sustainability looking for? So how can our audience support you, or whoever can support you in these initiatives?
Yeah, so we're looking for people who are curious about the future and want to support our initiatives by participating. We're always enthusiastic to engage with tricky problems which organizations may be facing. Yeah. And we're looking for some strategic philanthropy. The goal that we have is to create a network of organizations which are coordinated to help us inform regional responses to the negative emission economy, because this is absolutely critical. And in the past few weeks, and we've seen the French launch a new activity, the Danes have launched broad activity in that space, and actually it will benefit us all if we coordinate and think systemically about how we move forward.
Right. Paul, the time is running really fast today. We covered a lot of questions, but we still want to ask you to share a global call to action to the world. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I think we have to just be really clear that we're not going quickly enough on the sustainability agenda, and we need to actually do what the science requires, and then retrofit and improve the economic conditions for that to be delivering value to us all.
Okay. And Paul, I wanted to ask one question earlier, that people are also very sensitive or very, how to say it, not positive about the climate negative, that taking out the greenhouse gas from the atmosphere, and they would preferably focus on putting less and less or reducing the production of the greenhouse gas into the atmosphere. Are you also thinking of, is that also part of your negative emission, or you're not considering that at all?
So I think we're in the situation where we have to pull all our levers. So I think we have to accelerate the speed with which we decarbonise, as well as building this industry to pull and store greenhouse gas.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I hear. You need to unite the forces to move faster, and only then we can succeed. Otherwise,
Yeah.
climate change
Or maybe,
is bringing more rain to the world, not
No,
only to London.
in London, they're used to it. They won't. So, Paul, a last question. What kind of industries or businesses or business leaders, is there a kind of, you will think that that your course is more valuable for this sector business leaders, or is it sector agnostic?
So it's pretty agnostic, but I think those organisations that have begun to think about radical innovation will find that this is particularly beneficial. And we can see that those people with corporate venturing teams who are quite sensitive to sustainability are really doing a lot in this space. And that applies also for family offices who are beginning to allocate capital into this area of negative emissions. And I think it's really important that it's not just a business thing, but it's inclusive of different sectors and different types of organisation.
Perfect.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us today, Paul, for your insights and inspirations. We catch up very soon.
Exactly.
Once it's sun in London, we will come and visit you in Cambridge.
Yeah, we were supposed to be this time, but unfortunately the agenda didn't match. So
Thank you, Paul.
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, the audience, with this, we'd like to end our insightful, sustainable show of today.
and looking forward to bringing another such amazing story for you next week.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Hope you have a sun.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey today.
We hope this incredible story has ignited something in you. Don't miss out on what's coming next. Subscribe to our channel and stay tuned.
Feeling inspired to support our guests or be featured on our next show? Get in touch with us at apply@iisolutions.ch.
Let's stay connected. Find us on TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, or any other social media platform you love.
We are super excited to share our upcoming episodes with you.
See you soon.